Hi, viewers and listeners to our Against Gravity podcast. Welcome to another episode of your podcast that speaks to game changers, legacy builders, and problem solvers. On today's episode, we are talking accessibility and inclusion for people with disabilities. And our guest, Christopher Agbega, is here. But before we get into our conversation, I want to remind you that Against Gravity is brought to you by Picture, your Afrocentric visual content providers. We have images that borders on business, contemporary living in Africa, and Black people in the diaspora as well. So if you want images for all your marketing needs, for your commercial needs, just visit picturestock.com and browse through our library of diverse images for your storytelling intentions. Right. Now to today's conversation on Against Gravity, accessibility and inclusion for people with disabilities. My guest is Christopher Agbega. He's a disability advocate, a project officer, and a hip-hop and Afrobeat artist with a condition known as Hereditary Motor Sensory Neuropathy, and is currently a member of Our Views, Our Voices Global Advisory Committee on Non-Communicable Diseases. Chris' rise to this position started as a member of the Ghana Non-Communicable Diseases Alliance, where he currently serves as an advocate and a peer trainer. An active member of the team that developed the advocacy agenda for people living with non-communicable diseases in Ghana. Chris has participated in NCD-related events both in and out of Ghana, such as the annual Ghana Non-Communicable Disease High-Level Meeting and the third Global NCD Alliance Forum in Sharjah, UAE. So non-communicable disease is just the same as NCD. So pardon my alternation. Chris Agbega currently works at the Federation of Disability Organization in Ghana as the Accessibility and COVID-19 Projects Officer. Thank you so much for coming on to Against Gravity to speak about accessibility and inclusion, which is very close to my heart, Chris.
Thank you so much for having me. It is such an honor. And listening to you read my bio, it got me like, so I've done all of these things, but I mean, it comes with the job, and so for me, I feel I have been opportune to serve, and this is what I've been able to do so far. So thank you for having me.
All right, thank you so much for making time to share your story. I mean, I've read an amazing profile about you, but I want you to describe yourself in your own words. How would you describe yourself, Chris Agbega?
Great, thank you once again, Chris. Chris is a purposeful gentleman. If I should put it in a few words, Chris is a purposeful gentleman. Chris also loves to live a realistic life, and he's purpose driven, and also does his best to live above what the limitations that he faces in life. He endeavors to live above that. So Chris is purposeful, Chris is driven, and I mean, Chris is Chris.
Interesting. I mean, I got to know you through one of my meetings at the office of the Ghana Federation of Disability Organizations, and I got to discover that you are a musician. And
Yeah.
listening to about 3 of your songs, they're just amazing. They blew my mind. So let's start from there.
Okay.
Music. From a young age, did you know you wanted to do music?
I knew. It's something that I keep doing. Like I keep sitting back and reflecting, back on my music journey. And it goes way, way back. First of all, growing up in a house where your dad loves music, you're always surrounded by music. So if it wasn't, even if it wasn't something I was consciously thinking I was going to do, unconsciously, or something I was surrounded with every time. That is listening to music, reggae, and all of that, and bobo because we are airways. And then also, I mean, around me was a lot of hip hop because I grew up in Laboni, and I grew up not so far from Grandpapa Reggie Rockstone. So I just seeing him around, was always in my mind, like, okay, what does, like, he looked fun, like he looked like he was having fun doing music. And so, like, I was like, oh, okay. So I remember back in the days I used to love Ja Rule, Cisco, like growing up, like, yeah, all these rap things, yeah. But later on, yeah, here I am doing music. So every time I reflect, I knew I was going to do music. I was going to
Wow.
do it.
And today you write a lot of impactful songs. Three of them, I mean, for one, you really focus on your story, your real life. What does music mean to you? Is there more to it than just what we see physically and enjoy on the surface?
Mm. Music for me is life. Music is life. Music is life, because, Charlie, if you know what it means to go through a journey of health complications and all of that, what gives you peace? What gives you a reason to live? And for me, it's music. There's been so many times where I do what maybe some people do in their closets, where they imagine themselves being somebody on stage and singing or rapping or doing something, because it is an inner feeling. It is not just what people see, but there is something you feel you are attached to when you listen to music. And for me, music is life. Even to say that, if I should work on an album, which I'm planning on working on, an album or a mixtape, my first one, the title will be Lifeline. And yeah, I'm definitely going to work on that.
Definitely, and you should listen to his music, and it's breathtaking. At the end of this conversation, he's going to share his handles on YouTube,
Yeah.
Spotify, for you to go there and stream Chris'
Thank you.
music. Now,
Thank
Chris,
you.
let's talk about your condition. You live with hereditary motor sensory neuropathy. I mean, I didn't know
Yeah.
about that till I met you, and you've educated me a lot just meeting you twice. Tell us about this health condition. What is it about, and what does it do to you?
So, first of all, it's a neurological condition. So, a neurological condition affects your brain, your nerves, and then your spinal cord. And per these three things I've just mentioned, you should know that these are very three key things about the whole human body.
Yeah.
Hereditary motor sensory neuropathy, as it says, hereditary, is something that I got from my dad. So growing up, I thought my dad had an accident, but because he couldn't walk, and then I grew up, and then I got a condition. So it's a condition where, take for example your body. Take for example your body is a house, and the electric wires in your house are like the electric wire are the nerves, right? So the nerves begin to deteriorate, so they don't send power
Hmm.
to the house. You get it? So the equipment that need electricity to run are not getting the electricity to run
Hmm.
any longer, and because of that, there's muscle weakness. I'm wasting muscle, and there's a whole lot going on. You get it? So yeah, and probably the medications you take are like generators, where it's just generating power to keep the muscles going, but a generator cannot be compared to the national grid. So I'm just giving an analogy for you to get what it means for
Yeah.
someone to have such a condition as I am. Yeah.
Yeah. And I've met you, and I know you use the wheelchair to move around a
Yeah.
lot. So it
Yeah.
shows that
Yeah.
your motor condition is affected. Now, you were not born with it, as you said, although you inherited it. You didn't see
Hmm.
this at birth. And
No, no,
I
no,
know it
no.
started in your teenage years. Take us to the first day you realized that you had this condition. How did it happen? How did it unfold?
So it was a crazy experience. I mean, thinking about it right now, and even before then, I mean, growing up and playing football and running even way faster than your friends, and Charlie, it was a wild one. But then I remember one day we lived at East Cantonment, and so I used to. This was when I was in senior high school, St. Thomas Aquinas. So here I was going to school, Charlie, happy. I mean, it's another day to go to school. So I mean, I was full of joy, only for me to get to the the roundabout at the American embassy, and all of a sudden I felt like strength had left me. That's how I felt. I felt like strength had left me, and so I struggled walking from the the roundabout to the bus stop, which was going to take me to school, and that actually was the beginning of where I am now. It's been 13 to 14 years since that happened, and it was a crazy experience because I didn't know what was happening to me. You get it? And it was when I came back and the symptoms started getting. I mean, I wake up in the morning and I'm tiptoeing. My feet is stiff, so I have to tiptoe around the room till it relaxes. Then I'm able to. But then I realized that the things that I used to do, like carry water, do all of these. I mean, you're a young guy, so the things I used to do, I wasn't able to do that as I would have wished. So that was when I started asking questions, and then I knew that, oh, okay, it was something bigger than what met the eye. I realized that it was something big, and even from that age, as to I didn't get what it. I'm saying today that it was something bigger, but even at that age, I didn't really know the magnitude of what it was. All I knew was, okay, so it's a health condition. I mean, if it's a health condition, we should be able to solve it, right? I mean, the health, go to the hospital, you get medicine, you are solving your problem. But such a condition is not curable; it's only manageable. So you can imagine growing up and having to deal with the changes it comes with, and you not being able to be active as you are. You are the only child. I'm the only child, so it's like it's like Charlie. It's been a crazy journey. It's been a really, really crazy journey for me. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, it means your parent didn't tell you about this because your dad was also using a wheelchair, but he didn't know how it started. You didn't know it was a health condition that was likely to be inherited. But how did your parent take it when you started showing symptoms and you told them in the very beginning?
Thinking about it now, I think they were sad, especially my dad, because I remember, the hope was that, and I think about it today, and I'm like, okay, the hope was that even though it's hereditary, it wouldn't affect me. That was the hope, because the fact that somebody has it, transferring it to a child is a 50-50 chance. Even according to research, it's a 50-50 chance. So it's not as though, okay, they had just, the hope was right that, oh, okay, let's hope Chris doesn't get it. But unfortunately, it was the other way around. So it was not the kind of thing that my parents would have wanted. So they did their best at that age to help me deal with it, but it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy. Yeah.
So, I mean, based on just the experience and for parents who have children or young people with disabilities, learning from your experience, what advice would you give them?
Hmm. I would say they shouldn't get emotional, because you might get emotional and you might lose focus on what you would have to do immediately. For me, such a condition is, you once the symptoms start showing, you attack it head on. You get it. Probably you're going to ask me, but for me. It took some time. I mean, my journey of accessing healthcare took a very long time. So for a parent who finds his son or her son or her ward or his ward or whatever, must take it head on. You understand? It has to be a head on. You need to rise with it. And I know you're gonna. I believe you're gonna ask me some questions around what has happened or what happened. But this is my advice to parents: don't get emotional.
Okay.
No matter I mean, just like malaria. If you're sick with malaria, you don't get emotional about it, it's malaria, and no, you really quickly seek healthcare, right? So and that is even malaria. So for such a condition, I mean, you even have to double up. Yeah.
And also, yeah, let's just talk about healthcare. I mean, it's happened. Now you have to go to the hospital, try to diagnose it, see if there's a cure or there's a
Hmm.
therapy that can get you out of it. So, tell us, have you tried, your healthcare, how you started to, access healthcare how the journey has been when it comes to diagnosis and therapy, even from the very beginning.
So interesting. Just having this question, I'm also reflecting. That's why I really pour out the experiences. Now, it's a health condition, so I started going to the hospital. But then the general practitioners, they didn't really know what the problem was. So it is like there's a checklist or there's a bucket list. All you have to do is begin to check everything. Okay, so go and do this test, go and do that test, go and do this scan, go and do that scan. And that was it. So one problem was the ignorance from these health professionals. The other problem was with the other problem was finances. It was a huge part because I remember somewhere in 2011 when I was transferred to Kolebu, I was asked to go and do an MRI scan. And honestly, Henry, even back then, the MRI scan was 948 CDs. I think I remember 948 CDs. But look, it might sound like, oh, it's quite an easy amount. But look, my mom used to work in a restaurant. She was a cook. I mean, how much does she earn a month? And she was the only one through whom I was surviving. So such an amount was really huge. So we weren't able to do the MRI scan. We kept on going with it till we went to the physician specialist. And even that, I was transferred from Mamprobi Polyclinic to Kolebu. And even on the transfer sheet, what the assistant physician, it wasn't the doctor that transferred me, or it was an assistant that transferred me. And what he had written when I got to the orthopedic, because he thought it was a bone issue, so he transferred me to the orthopedic at Kolebu. When I got there and they saw what he had written, the doctor was actually pissed that, I mean, what is this? Young man, if you don't tell me what is wrong with you, get out of my office. This was the reaction from the doctor. So I quickly had to tell him that, look, this and this and this is what happened to me, and this is why I ended up going to the hospital and blah 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 blah. But thank God it worked out. Thank
Oh,
God it worked out. Yeah.
so you found the right diagnosis at what age?
I found the right diagnosis somewhere around 25, 26 years.
Oh,
This is when I was working at a radio station, X Live Africa. And while I was working there, this man called Mr. Chester, God bless him, he took me to a hospital, a very expensive private hospital, and that was where they took my blood sample. And then I think it was taken to India or something, and that was when they did the test and they realized what was wrong with me. But from the first day of me having the symptom to me getting the diagnosis was a 9 year span.
wow.
It was a 9 year span. So again, back to the question about parents who have children, having a condition. If you're a parent and you know your child has this condition, then you know that if you rise quickly, it would rather help the child. It took me 9 years. If it takes you 9 days, you would have been making great headway by now, because probably the medications I started taking later, or the attention I got later, you can get it early to slow down the rate of deterioration. So it was quite a journey. It's quite a journey.
And is there a cure for your condition based on your research and interaction with people?
Based on my research, no, there's no cure. Based on my faith, yes, there is a miracle. Like, I still believe in miracles.
Yeah.
That for that one, it doesn't waver. But then medically, there's no cure. It's only manageable. So it's manageable through medication. So they give you medications, you have to take these medications, and yeah. So
And you mentioning faith, that brings me to my next question. I mean, have you tried seeking help through religious means in any way possible? Have you tried going to people who are like help deliver miracles? How has that experience been for you?
that was a roller coaster, I tell you. Interestingly, that drew me closer to God, but it was a roller coaster. The experiences were, Charlie, one church to the other. Go and buy this, do this, direction, or suffer bra, make sure come tell, yeah, bra. mad dilation, dilation, 7 days. Yeah, then and so it was like that. It was, I mean, up, down. Mom and I, we've been to church. I mean, times where she has to go to work, then we are at this church located somewhere at this church. Oh my goodness. It's been interesting. And not just religious though, but traditional help as well. I mean, been to the shrine, Charlie, seen things. I mean, so many things I can talk about, but it was all in search for a solution. And again, this is the African context here. I'm African, I'm Ghanaian. It's different from the way the European would approach it, where if it's a health condition, we know that straight we go to the hospital. And then, but as for an African, a Ghanaian, once you start seeking all means, spiritual, physical, because there will be connotations. I mean, if it's hereditary, then there has to be some spirituality somewhere. So it was a journey. It actually got to a time where I said no, this can't continue. Because Henry, I found myself in a dilemma. I found myself in a dilemma where I just didn't know where I was going to. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't even know who I was, because I was looking for a solution, yes. So I forgot everything else. I had friends who, I mean, I've completed senior high school 2009. I've completed senior high school. So, I, I mean, after senior high school, what's the next thing? University, right? So I have friends going looking for their schools, getting ready. Oh, I even had a friend who we completed in 2009 June, and in September he was already in the university. I don't know how. I think he did enough deck before, so he had his way. So this was progress. But then what was my progress? My progress was looking for a solution to a condition I didn't even know what it was. So you can imagine the dilemma I was in. But then it got to a point where I had to put my feet down and say, no, it
Mm.
can't go any longer. I would deal with it as I also find my purpose and live my life. You get it? So it's two things. I'm still dealing with it, but I have to live life.
Mm.
So that was it.
My very last personal question before we enter the broader accessibility and inclusion conversation. How did your condition change your relationships with people in any way? Did you feel isolated? Did you feel people distance themselves from you?
Mm,
Because like those are some of the stories we hear from people who have experienced such conditions. Did you experience that yourself?
I did. I did. I really did. I lost friends. And now that I think about it, it's very painful because friends you thought you had built for a long time. You don't build friendship in a day. You get it. So you've built friendship with people for a very long time, and then it got to a point where I'm like, I didn't really know who to even talk to, because all the friends I had, I mean, basically they were also looking forward to their lives. So what could I say? But if you have a friend and you know that Charlie, your friend is down, you do your best to help him get up. But that wasn't what I got. Um, I also isolated myself because I lost my self esteem. You are struggling to walk, struggling to find yourself, struggling to do all of these things. So I lost my self esteem. You get it. So I like I said, I was in a dilemma. So probably I was just hoping some of these friends, quote unquote, of mine would come and help me out of this dilemma, but it never happened. I think by the grace of God, I helped myself out of it. Yeah, just by really holding on to faith and holding on to Christ. So it did. I lost people. Look, I lost people. I lost people I never, even till today, I never thought I would lose because of the kind of friendship that we built. You get it? And it's tough. It's tough, especially now when, look, you can't help it. We all need friends. We all need people you can talk to, like Charlie, just people you can just be yourself with. You get it? But then if you don't have that, it becomes a problem. So I indeed lost people, Charlie.
You're still listening and watching Against Gravity. your favorite podcast that speaks to game changers, legacy builders, and problem solvers. Today we are speaking to Christopher Agbega. He is a disability rights advocate, he's a project officer, and also a hip hop and Afrobeats artist. Those who are listening on our podcast, you're sure going to hear his music at the beginning and at the end of this podcast. We're going to celebrate his talent and the amazing feats he's doing despite all the odds he's facing. Now, let's talk about accessibility and inclusion. I know you're an advocate, a strong one for people with disabilities of all forms, the broader disability area. My question to you is that advocacy work for PWDs, so far, how has it been in Ghana trying to advocate for inclusion for people with disabilities? What challenges have you faced?
It's not been easy, Henry. It's not been easy. But it has also been a fight worth, going in for, because first of all, one thing I say is that accessibility goes beyond disability. So even if we are fighting accessibility, you should understand that if a place is accessible, it benefits everybody. For persons with disabilities, as it remains a continuous challenge. When you want to live a normal life, but in an environment that makes you disabled, and that has been a problem. I have traveled out of the country. I've had the opportunity of traveling out of the country before, and you go to a country and you realize that, okay, in that country, the fact that you are disabled or you're a person with disability doesn't make you disabled. And the reason is because the environment in itself is accessible. So you can live a normal life without anybody's help. It's like waking up and going to work. You understand? It's a normal thing. But then for a person with disability in Ghana, it's a challenge. You wake up every morning and you're even thinking about how you're going to address some of the challenges, like transportation, sitting in a trotro. It's difficult. For me, I don't even pick trotro, I pick Uber. How long can I keep up with that? So it is a huge challenge. In 2006, the government at the time passed the Disability Act 715, which enshrines that public places should be made accessible. As a matter of fact, that very same year, there was a moratorium signed that in 10 years, all public buildings were going to be made accessible. Henry, it's been 14 years, and we still have the same accessibility challenges. So it's difficult. We're still advocating. It can be way better, but it is not better. It is not better.
How does it feel when you get to a building and you notice you cannot access it because of your condition? Because you can't use the stairs, you need to use the elevator. How does it feel? And you want to get something done. You get to a public space, especially, you can't access it.
I like the twist you brought there. You want to get something done, then it becomes difficult. First of all, it's depressing. It's just depressing getting to a place and you can't access. I mean, it should be accessible. If it is a service, it should be if it is somewhere I want to go to, it should be accessible. I mean, why should I struggle just to get to that point? It's difficult, but I've gotten to a point too where if it is you who needs me, and then I get to your building and it's not accessible, I'll leave. At the end of the day, you lose because you didn't make it accessible. But it has not been so all these years. You get it? I had to get to this point. But I mean, first, I'll deal with it. I'll have people carry me to floors. I remember going to a school, I don't want to mention names, but I did a course and my class was on the third floor. So I had friends, the friends were happy to see me and were happy to help me up. But then the question is, for how long is that going to be? Because, lifting me up also affects me. So why isn't there an elevator where I can just easily go click and I'm going? You see, so when I say, I mean, if there's an elevator and the whole building is accessible, I can be in and out of there without you even seeing me. Why? Because when I came there, I didn't need anybody's help. It was accessible. I went, did my business, I've left. But that is not the case. So it's depressing. It is. It is. Even till now, there's still some buildings you go to and
But from a policy, leadership, enforcement angle, what can be done to improve accessibility? Because it is a must, it is a right that if there is a public agency, there's a public service, there's a utility service, you should be able to access that service either physically or any other way just to get what you want done. And for Ghana, where you have to be present physically to get some things done, from that leadership angle, what should be done based on your discussions and advocacy?
I think where we are now, let me be honest, where we are now, legal precedents would have to be set. Legal precedents. There has been advocacy, there has been processions where, going on, floats and things talking about accessibility. But where we've gotten to, just to show how serious we are, we need to start setting certain precedents, legal precedents, where if your building is not accessible, it will be closed down. And when it gets to that point where, okay, you need your building, then make it accessible. That's where it has gotten to now. That is where it has gotten to now.
The voice of Christopher Agbega there on Against Gravity. We are talking accessibility and inclusion for persons with disability. My name is Henry Deben, and it's an important conversation that we should be having as a nation, as a country, and even the world in general. How to ensure that there is a standard living, environment which is enabling for every single person with disability to thrive. I did my final year thesis for my undergraduate in communication. So it was accessibility of television content to the deaf and hard of hearing in Ghana. And my focus was news. Everybody needs access to news. Why are we not seeing TV stations using the sign language? It can't be just GTV. Even for GTV, out of my research, it's not consistent. GTV is a state broadcaster. It's days that they do it, there are some days they don't do it. Private stations will tell you that, TV3 mentioned something like they've not gotten the right person to do it. I'm like, if you really want to do it, you put in the effort. So the media see people with disability as a second thought. They are not in their...
Not just the media, but the government as well.
The government
it's like an afterthought.
Well.
It's like an afterthought. You are done, and then okay. What of persons, deaf persons?
Yeah. Exactly. They should be right at the front line, in the forefront of whatever we are doing. And that brings me to my question on mainstream media and marketing. When it comes to visibility for people with disabilities, I watch a lot of adverts, I see a lot of billboards, a lot of marketing visuals, and we've not done a lot when it comes to ensuring that people with disabilities are in these visuals, because out of this, we educate people, we empower them, then we ensure that life is better for them. We at Picture, we are working to change that. We are creating a collection for, people with disabilities, people with special needs to be used in marketing. From your perspective, why should people with disabilities be seen and heard like everyone else?
Because people with disabilities are, first of all, people. They are people, even before they are people with disabilities. They are, first of all, people. So they have to be seen and heard. Just as you wake up and you want to see somebody and speak to somebody, people with disabilities also wake up with that same desire. So what has to be done is just make sure that that access is bridged, is a gap, bridge it. You get it. So again, it just comes back to embracing people with disabilities, or embracing the needs of people with disabilities. Let me even say this, and it's a personal research I have done. Now, how many people watch movies and would want to have subtitles?
So many.
So many.
Yes.
The reason is because even you who think you are listening, maybe because of an accent or maybe because of sound, you may not hear what the person is saying. So you want to be reading the subtitles just as the person is speaking, so that you understand what they are saying. What then are you trying to say? So it means you understand what it means to have a hearing deficit or not being able to hear, so you want to read. Do you know what you're actually doing? You therefore understand the needs of a deaf person. So why then don't you provide that? Probably you can't sign. But even by understanding this, then you would even go further to understand the importance of having a sign language interpreter. I have watched a movie where I think The Lion King, which was released last year. They did one for blind persons.
Wow.
And it's a version, it's there. Henry, is there. What happens is that even though you are hearing, there is an extra voice that is describing the scene to you. So what I did personally was when I was watching, it got to a point, I closed my eyes and I was using my imagination because of what I was hearing to understand. And it painted a beautiful picture in my mind. So it's like even for so this is a beautiful thing. You can even put out a movie and every blind person would have a different imagination to it. Do you know how beautiful that is? You see, so it will surprise you. I keep saying that accessibility goes beyond disability because there are some people. If there is a 10-story building and there's a lift and you say that only physically challenged people can use the elevator, everybody else use the lift, there'll be a complaint. Why? Because the elevator is not there to serve only persons with disability, but the elevator is there to make the building easily accessible. That is it. That is it. So if you make a building easily accessible, you're actually benefiting everybody. Henry, I've been to washrooms where it has been made for persons with disability. Like you go to a public place and there's a washroom. There's one that is made for a public for persons with disability. 9 out of 10 times I have seen well-able people using those washrooms. Why? They'll tell you, oh, it is spacious. You understand? It is very spacious and it looks very usable because there are some things you can hold, you understand, just to assist you to adjust. And then you begin to say, oh, okay. So you people understand accessibility. But I don't know if, in a Ghanaian system, education system, wow, somebody has to maybe hold a rod or a cane on you before you begin to think or something like that. I don't know. So it's a challenge. It is a huge challenge, especially in the media space, because they don't know that by doing that, you are serving a great number of people. And then you are also supporting a cause, a worthy cause. You're also supporting a worthy cause. Yes,
Definitely.
accessibility comes in different level. Henry, if you don't speak Spanish, it means you don't have access. It means you don't have access. You need an interpreter or you need subtitles to understand what is being said in Spanish. Yes. So that's a deaf person. That's a blind person. That's a physically challenged person. It's just that. That is access. All they need is access. Make it accessible. And you'll be surprised that if it is accessible to a person with disabilities, it's accessible to everybody. It's accessible to everybody. If a book is made to be accessible to let's say a somebody with low vision, it means that the font will be made big. If the fonts are made big, it means that you who doesn't have an eye problem, you can easily read without any problem. It's as simple as that.
Wow. Thanks for broadening our understanding. I mean, we all thought that there are certain things just for people with disability and it will work for them. It helps every single one.
Every single
Your examples are so enlightening, Chris.
look, transport, car, vehicles.
Yeah.
You sit in a car. If it is accessible, it is comfortable. When you, the well-able person, sits in, you even forget that it is meant for a person with disability. Why? Because it becomes even comfortable for you to sit in. It's as simple as that. I mean, I'm just happy I'm able to use these analogies just to
Yeah.
paint the picture for people to get it that okay, if a place is made accessible for a person with disability, it means accessible to anybody.
And Chris, anyone can be disabled at a point in their life. It could be an
Thank you.
accident, it could be a health condition, and you will be in need of these things we are all fighting for.
Look, let me give you an example. People might not even see how important this is. According to the accessibility codes, there's what you have measurements. There are measurements, right? There are door measurements. You understand? Like, for example, when a door is measured, it is measured so that it is spacious for somebody with a wheelchair to easily
Mm.
go through. Now, if the door is big enough for a person with a wheelchair to go through, Henry, will it be difficult for you to go through? Not at all. You would easily walk. And it will surprise you that the bigger the door, the more comfortable it will be for you to walk through. You are not going to squeeze yourself. I don't know if you've ever had to struggle squeezing yourself through a door before. And if you ever did that, if it was ever comfortable for you, maybe if it was, well, it's never comfortable.
Never.
So that is, it is what it is. It is what it is.
Chris Agbega there, broadening our knowledge and understanding of the issues when it comes to accessibility and inclusion. We all need to fight for this. It's a human rights issue because we all need it to make life better for each one of us. And Chris, I met you through the Ghana Federation for Disability Organization. The federation, I want to really understand the role you play in making life better for people with disabilities. How are you engaging public and private sector leaders when it comes to jobs, ensuring that people with disabilities who are skilled, who are talented, can fill certain positions? When it comes to social protection, for those that cannot do a lot, are there like social protection nets that they get some money, they get some assistance to make life better? How are you advocating for these things? How are you engaging with stakeholders on this?
Thank you, Henry. This is on different levels. I mean, first of all, the federation has been here for over 30 years. What I can even speak for in terms of immediate actions is the federation has what we call the career fair, where we bring employers and persons with disabilities under one roof. And so what happens is that once that is done, there are opportunities for employers to engage these persons with disabilities, and then jobs are created, and there has been results over the period. Also, when it comes to the federation is a group of organizations. So these organizations have members they speak for. So blind persons, deaf persons, physically challenged persons, mentally challenged persons, persons with intellectual disabilities, different burn survivors, stammering. So they make sure that the legalities of being a person with disabilities are upheld. So when it comes to legal issues, advocacy as well, speaking for persons with disabilities. Um, the government has what they call the District Assembly Common Fund that supports persons with disabilities. Over the years, it was very small, but as time went on, because of advocacy, persons with disabilities have been giving a higher amount. But even that one, due to its challenges, is also another problem. Currently, the minister for the OT region is a person with disability. So it has to do with the federation is like the main mouthpiece when it comes to national issues, when it comes to the government, when it comes to health, accessibility, human rights issues, when it has to do with persons with disabilities, and not just in Ghana but internationally as well. So yeah.
Wow, great stuff. Leaders, public sector, private sector, we have to come together to ensure that people with disability have a better life than they currently do. On this show, Chris, we have the biggest against gravity moment. So this is to describe the greatest challenge you faced as a person, either in your career or your personal life. A key moment that was really game changing. It turned everything, a challenge that you felt like, wow, this is beyond me, but you were able to surmount it and you are here today as we speak. What do you think is your biggest against gravity moment?
Wow. And this is huge for the many challenges that I've experienced and being able to surmount it. I think it would be my when I realized I had lost self-esteem and when I recaptured it again. Because here I was afraid to go before people. I didn't know how people were going to take me. I was afraid. I was really afraid. But I remember a friend had a dream and he saw himself giving me a book, and the book was on self-esteem. And that was what changed it. I read the book. He went out to buy me the book, and I read the book. And that was when I was able to boldly go to the radio station and then seek for a job. And then in 2 months, I was on air. It was really interesting. And here I am on air speaking, and people come and see me, and they see me like, are you the one speaking? And like, yeah, hey, you don't look like how you speak. You speak differently. But when we see you, then we're like, wow, this is serious. So that for me was a very huge leap into who I have become now, because with that, I am able to say yes, I'm able to say no to things. I'm able to decide. You know, when you lose self-esteem, people control you. People control you. But just by being able to surmount or to overcome that and being able to get self-esteem, yeah, for me it has worked incredibly well for me.
Definitely, I wish I could listen to you on radio once again.
Oh, Charlie! Last week somebody actually told me that, look, you'll be good for radio. I said, well, I used to do radio, but radio stations too is it's like a food chain, Charlie. If you are, I remember, I think I blew an opportunity, but well, if it was mine, it was mine. I auditioned for TV3, and I was actually called for the second round, and I could tell I was going to get it. Maybe by this time, like I did chop some good money. I knew I was going to get it, but the problem was that I had to travel. So even when I came back, someone told me, look, for you and what you went to do there, go back there, let them actually reject you, saying because you weren't able to come, but go there and show that indeed you can do this. But like I say, if it was mine, it was mine. So maybe one day Henry is going to see me on TV. Then
Yeah,
you shout, Charlie, I know that guy. I know that guy.
I can't wait. I can't wait for that moment.
Yeah.
Wow, interesting conversation. I mean, my final question is two in one. You're talking about losing self-esteem, and I can imagine young people who are also experiencing NCDs today. It can be neurological disorder or any type of autoimmune disorder or any type of disability, who are indoors. They don't want to come out. They are scared. They are shy of speaking out. What's your message to them, these young people? And also to us listening as abled people, what in what small way can we contribute, can we make an impact to improve the lives of people with disabilities?
Hmm. Let me take your first question, and then I'll ask you to repeat the second question so that I don't miss it. Now, for young people, what I would say is, look, there's no one born without a purpose. So no matter what you encounter, no matter what you face in life, there is a purpose for why you are here. So, and that is what must lead you into living the best of your life. Find it, find your purpose, and live your purpose. That for me is ultimate as a young person, especially for the young ones, because especially in a country where it looks like once you have an NC, like you're doomed. You don't even have access to basic healthcare and all of that. It's very, very important that you find your purpose so that you don't lose it. So that you don't lose yourself. So you don't lose yourself. Yeah. The second question.
Second question is, for all of us listening and watching, in what small way can we help to improve the lives of people with disabilities who are more vulnerable than us? How can we improve their lives? What can we do? What small actions can we take?
The basic of all of them is to be educated, is to be informed about issues around disability. I'm not going to say go out there and do something. No, but first of all, just enlighten yourself. The reason why I'm saying this is you never know when you would encounter a person with disability, or you will never know when somebody needs your help. But if you are informed and you are enlightened, once that comes, you would know what to do, or you would know what to say. Because in most times, it is the actions and the inactions that is what actually makes a person with disability feel bad or feel good, or that is what actually solves a problem or doesn't solve a problem. Enlighten yourself. And what does it mean to be a person with disability? What are the types of disability? Just enlighten yourself so that even if you're a student and you find yourself in a classroom and there's a blind person or there's a person physically challenged, your ignorance would not lead you into to stigmatize or to discriminate. But but because you are enlightened, you would know how to approach the issue. You may even become the source of help for this person. I remember when I was done with senior high school, when I was in Form 3, there was a student in SS1 who had come and he was in a wheelchair, right? And it was just beautiful to see how the boys, I mean, I went to a boys' school, so it was interesting to see how the boys would go to his car when he parks, when they come and drop him, help him on his wheelchair. Some will take his bag and push him to class and push him wherever he wants to go. That means they understood his condition, but they wanted to be the ones to make him feel like he didn't have a disability by being able to help him around school. So I'm sure that guy completed school and was one of the happiest people. But this had to come from people who understood the problem, who were enlightened. So please enlighten yourself. That is the gateway to even your support for persons with disabilities in Ghana and beyond. Thank you.
Powerful last words there from Chris Agbega, our guest for today's podcast conversation on accessibility and inclusion for people with disabilities. Your story is inspiring, Chris. Your story is moving. Thank you so much for the advocacy work you're doing to make lives better, and to your music. How can people check out your songs
Hey.
on YouTube and Spotify?
Okay, so thank you so much. So my name is Christopher Agbega, but my rap name or my stage name is Chris K. The K is just the letter K. So on Spotify is Chris K. Okay, probably you have to look for me. You have to search a bit more because I'm not popular. So
Right.
I mean, I'm not Chris Brown, where immediately you type Chris, it's just Brown. Yeah, so you have
Right.
to search for me. Yeah. On Apple Music is also Chris K. On Audio Mac is Chris K Original. I'm the only original.
Only
So it's
original.
the only Chris K. So it's just one word, Chris K, the name Chris, the letter K, and the word original, all in one. So Chris K Original on Audio Mac, on YouTube as well. It's Chris K Original. And then on Afterthought, it's Chris K Original. The same Chris K Original across social media, which is on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Yeah, but for me, listen to the music. If you listen to the
Definitely.
music, and it's great, as Henry says, then hey, you can follow me because I'll be dropping more.
Oh, we can't wait for that. It's great. It's more than I think. I just love it. It's original. It's different. It just engrosses you as a person, and the lyrics inspiring. Thank you so much, Chris Agbega, for coming on Against Gravity. As he said, everyone has a purpose. So if you're in a condition, no matter what, go out and find that purpose that can help you build a stronger future, to help not just you, but people who are younger or coming after you. Thanks for listening to Against Gravity. This podcast is powered by Picture, your Afrocentric visual content provider. Check out picturestock.com and access a library of images that really diverse. You can get any type of images from business, from lifestyle, from food, from travel, all across Africa, and also Black people in the diaspora to help change that narrative, including people with disability very soon. So we are trying to make the world a better place, ensure that visuals are rich, diverse, and inclusive. So in your own small way, ensure that is also being done. I'm Henry Devin. Thanks for listening to this episode. Catch you same time on our very next episode. Bye for now.